So now what we're going to do is create our about page. So again, you can hover over pages and click on add new, or at the top over here, hover over new and click on page. And on the new page right here, let's just type in about for our page title. And then on the settings over here, I'm going to go in and select no sidebar and the full width stretch option and disabled page title. And all we have to do is just publish this. So let's go ahead and do that. And once the page is published, we can just turn on the page builder. So click on this. And once you come to the Brizzy page right here, before we actually start, I want to go to the demo website and just remind you that this is what the about page looks like. So we're going to create all of these different blocks by just picking and choosing them in the Brizzy page builder. But I will show you how to use the Brizzy page builder with the elements in this section also. So once we're on the template, the first thing that we want to do is come over here and click on this icon and change the page template to the default option so that we have our header and our footer. So we'll just let that refresh, and once that does, let's go and add our first section. So we'll go in here, and I think we're going to add a feature section. So I'm going to click on this, and I want this one right here. So I'm going to click on this, and now you should see this section right here. But on the demo website, what I did was I moved this image to the right-hand side and this text to the left-hand side. So if you want to do that, what you can do to move a column is just click on this arrow on the upper right for one of these columns, and then just drag it to wherever you want to place it. And you can see we have our blue line right here. So I can just drop it in, and now we have our formatting correctly. And we can just come in here and change some stuff. So I can just change this to our story. And then I can go to my demo website and copy this text and put this in right here. And I don't really need to do this because this is a demo website, but I thought just for fun, just to show you that I can format this stuff pretty quickly, that I would do this just to show you how awesome the page builder is. So I'm going to delete that button, and maybe I'll just type in some additional text down here. So this is my story section for my about page. And if you wanted to, you can format this section with these buttons over here. You can also add some additional elements to this block. You have all of these other ones that I haven't talked about. So if you need to, you can pause the video, check them out, use them, test them out, and see which ones you like. And once you're ready, what I want you to do is just come down to the next section. And again, just remember, you don't have to use the same blocks as I do. You don't even have to have the same layout. What I really want to do is have you walk away knowing how to use the page builder to really build whatever type of layout and web page that you want for your WordPress website. So now what we're going to do is add another block. So let's click on the plus button. And what I want to do is go back to the featured section, and I'm going to scroll down and just find this one right here. So I'm going to add this. So I'm not going to really format this section or the button right here, but you can see when you add two white blocks like this, it looks like one big section. So what I want to do is just kind of separate these by adding a little background color to this section. So I'm going to go in here and just select this, and maybe I'll make it a little bit lighter. So something like this, just so that you can see a little bit. So now you can see that we have some separation, and that looks pretty good. So let me add these other sections for this about page. Again, I'm just using some blocks right now, and then I'm going to show you how to use the page builder to create a row of your own. So gonna come right back in here. Let's add a testimonial, and maybe we'll use this one again. And we have that white section, and then we'll go in here. And this time I'll add another contact section, just like the home page. And then we'll add our social media buttons. But this time around, instead of going into the social link over here, I'm going to go to my save blocks, and it will populate the block that I already saved with the URLs for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll just add this one. So now if I click on this, you'll notice that we have our URLs already included for these buttons that we changed already. So this is what we did earlier. We saved this block, and now I just added it back. So we have our about page using blocks, and what I want to do is just show you how you can add another section. So imagine you want to add a section. It doesn't need to be at the bottom over here, but if you want to just create a page from scratch or a block from scratch, just click on this, And once you see this section, if anything looks different on this page, that's because I kind of messed up and I spilled some orange juice as I was recording this tutorial. So my MacBook that I was using needs to get fixed. So I had to swap out my computers. So now we're using a different computer. But the show must go on. We got to finish this tutorial. So we're going to do that right now. So let's click and add a blank block for this new section that we're going to create. And you can see it right here. I want to go in and just change the background color so we have some separation. So I'll select this right here. And let me just show you what we're going to make. We're going to make this little section that you see right here. And it's pretty professional. It's just something that I added to the About page right here. So let me show you how to do that with the elements, and then you can go and create whatever you want. So you don't have to copy or really follow along. You can just watch and see what I use to make something, and then you can go and customize whatever blocks that you want. So the first thing that I want to do is just add some text blocks into this section. So I'm going to drop some in right over here. So I'm going to add 2 of them because I want a headline and a subheadline. And so we have these 2 right here, and I can just go in here and maybe delete this and type in everything you need. And what we can do is format this text. So we'll click on the T right here, and I'm going to change this to a subtitle. I'll italicize this. I'm going to center it and probably change it to this blue color. And then what we can do is come in here and put in our headline. So we'll type in perfectly crafted. And again, we'll change this to a heading 1 in here. And we'll make this white, and we'll center this. And what you'll notice is that there's a little bit too much space right here. So I want to make this section or this text be closer to this one. So I'm going to go into this one right here and go into the settings and change the margin. So you can see what happens when I actually click on this one. You can see it's going to change the margin for the bottom right here. So we're going to move this to maybe -10 or so. And that looks a little bit better. It looks a little tighter. So I kind of like how that looks better. So that's what you can do with the margin and the padding. And now what we're going to do is add some additional columns at the bottom over here. So I'm going to click on this and duplicate this, and we'll do that one more time. And this is just going to make some additional columns. And I actually want to make this full width, so from one side to the other. So I'll go into my settings over here and just change this to the full width option. So now we have columns all the way across. Okay, so now what we can do is we can add our text boxes and everything like that, but what I want to do first is show you how we can add a background image and then change the colors for these images. So we're going to go in here and click on this, and you guys should already know how to do this, but we're going to walk you through it again. So I'm going to click on this button to add a background image and click on this. And what I want to do is just choose my background image and click select, and you should see the image show up right here. And we can add an overlay. So we'll go in here and just change it to blue. Maybe I'll change this to 75% or so you can see the image. And then what we can do is go and change the padding and the margin, which you won't see until we actually go and add an element right here. So if you click on this one, this changes the padding on the inside. So you see this gray box right here? That's for the padding on the inside. If you click on this one right here, it's going to change the padding and the margin on the outside of this gray box. So we're working on this one right here. And I want to change the padding on the outside to 70, 65, 70, and 65. And then the margin on the outside right here, I want to put in 15. And then for the margin right here, I want to do 15, 10, and 15, 10 right here. And again, you won't see the changes until you put in an element. So we're going to click and drag in a text element right here so you can see the change. So I'll just drop this right into the center. And once we put that in, let me just scroll down, and you can see, once I hover over this, you can see that we have the spacing changed. So now right at the top, we have some spacing over there. And you probably won't notice it, but I did change the padding here. So now this text box is formatted. So I'm going to go in here and just change the text to white. And I want to duplicate this text box because I want to have a title section up here. So I'm going to click and try to highlight this text and just put in About Us and just change the formatting or the typography to the button option. And now you can see we have this first column like this. So you can see that the Busy Page Builder can pretty much do whatever you want. And what I want to do is I'm going to delete this one right here. And I'm actually going to duplicate this one, because I want to just have two of the same right here, and I'm just going to change the text right here. So I'm going to click and move this over right over here. And we can just change the text if we wanted to maybe team or something like that. And if we also want, we can just go in here and format these two. So let me just do that really quickly. So I'm going to click in here again and click on this and then go and choose a background image. So we're going to use the same image and just change the transparency. So once we have our image right here, I'll go into the styling and I'm going to select, let's go with this one right here. And maybe we'll change this to about 50% or so. Let's see what that looks like. This looks pretty good, right? So maybe we'll do 60%. I'm just winging it right here. And you can see right here, we didn't change the padding or the margin yet. So you can see it's higher up. And this time around, what I want to do is I want to put in the elements first, just to show you what happens and you can actually see the padding and the margin change. So we have our first element right here, and we can just change the text color. So maybe we'll make it navy blue. And we can duplicate this again just so that we have two of these. And we can change this one to services. And we'll put in the typography as button. And the formatting looks a little weird, right? So what I'm going to do is click on this little icon and go into my settings and click more settings. And then just put in the same padding. So for the outside, I want to put in 70, 65, 70, and 65, and you should see things starting to change. For the margin for this one, I want to put in 15, and then over here for the outside margin, it's going to be 15, 10, 15, and 10. And now you should see the changes right over here. So if we click out of it, that's what it looks like. If you don't like how this looks or whatever, you can always change it. You can maybe make this a little bit darker. And what I want to do is actually delete this one, and then we'll just put another duplicate on this side over here. So I'm going to click and drag this one over right over here. And maybe we'll just change the title for this one to contact. And if I was actually building the site, maybe I would make these a little lighter so that you can actually see the text. But again, this is just a demo block right here. So what I want to do is I want to add a button, but I want to add some spacing in between these two sections. So I'm going to click here. And you can use all of these different types of elements. So what you probably want to do if you want to learn how to really use the page builder is just play around with all these different elements and drag them in and see what they do. So I'm going to add a spacer right over here. And I'm also going to add a spacer below the section, so down here. And that's just going to give me a little bit of gap. And then I'm going to add a button down here. So I'm going to click and drag this element over underneath. And once you see your button right here, we can just go in here and maybe we want to change the text to say learn more. And if you want to get rid of that icon or change it, click on this icon right here and then just go in here and remove that. And again, what you can do to link this button is click on this, type in your URL, and we already talked about how to format our buttons, so I'm not going to go through that again. But again, you can see your button right here, and if you want to change the colors, you have the normal button color and then the hover color over here. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for this section. Really what I wanted to do was just show you how to create this beautiful block here with the Brizy Page Builder to kind of give you an idea, an overview of the elements that you can use. So if you do want something like this, or if you're done creating your about page, make sure that you always click on the update button right here. So I'm going to click on this just to save everything really quickly. And once everything is saved, you should have your about page right here. So if you need to, you can pause the video and go in and change whatever you need to, update the links, update the images, the text, and I'll probably delete the section that I created with you guys before I go and move on to the next step. But again, remember, always click on the update button to save everything. And then once you're ready, let's go back to our WordPress dashboard so that we can move on to the next step. So I'm going to click back to WordPress right over here. And once you're back on this page right here, if you want, you can go and check out your about page by clicking on view page. And your about page should load right here. And you can see this just looks just like our Brizy Page Builder. We have all of our different sections. So again, pause the video if you need to update everything. Otherwise, let's move on.